Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
As always, guys, please do check in daily. We were talking about that unfortunate, very, very disturbing crash that happened over there, the train crash in East Palestine, Ohio, over on Evolutionary today. And, there is word in that situation that we saw recently that that's affecting the water in the rivers all the way down, all the way into West Virginia. So please do send your prayers. And Cindy was talking about how we will be doing another prayer and healing for the waters and for the land and for that area in particular. Over on EEARTS, we were talking about the message about the beings that control those ships. Oh yeah, it's all going to be revealed now. This is the apocalypse after all. Heart's Own, we were calling on the mother of the universe for protection, and so that video actually started out the best so far of any of them, as we are close to 900 subscribers at Heart's Home, and when we get that 1,000th, the one lucky 1,000 is going to get a 30-minute session for free that we will work on them if they so choose, or they could give it up to somebody else looking at that 1,000th subscriber. So here we go. As mystery objects get shot down, the U.S. sets up a new task force on UFOs. Another new task force. I mean, we got Space Force recently. They've been telling us of these UAPs that they say are not ours, and they don't think they're Russia or China's. What's the alternative, guys? Well, yeah. The reality is, again, as we've shared with you, if you just go deep into all the myths and legends all around the world, they're too far too similar to just dismiss and start saying, well, it's all astrotheology. Sure, there is astrotheology, and we could look at things in that type of manner, but a lot of the things that we see in these myths and legends are trying to rationalize and pass on the knowledge that there are beings that we see at times that have technology way more advanced than us, and it just depends on the age that we are in.
Mm-hmm. And it depends. Of course, our education is very important, and people are really trying to grasp as much as they can of understanding, but we're still left with this science. I mean, this is all we have. We have these borders, and we have this information that we're given, and we're told, oh, this is this because it fits into one of these categories. Well, no, life is not that way. Life is about expansion, and it's about feeling and reaching out there to grab that understanding for yourself, not letting someone else tell you.
Amid a baffling series of incidents in which the U.S. has shot down 3 unidentified flying objects, the White House said Monday it would create a team expected to study airborne objects and the potential security and safety risks they pose. A new group created on behest of National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan will comprise elements of the Pentagon, the FAA, the Department of Homeland Security, and other government agencies, so said U.S. officials. We've actually had conversations with people very, very, very high up at the Department of Homeland Security, and of course they can't outright give us anything, but at the same time, they know that we know that they know. It's just the way it is, and they can't officially comment on these things. So the group will look at the broader policy implications of the objects for detection, analysis, and disposition, said John Kirby. Elements of the government will redouble their efforts to understand and mitigate these events. Now, that's after the Pentagon shot down a Chinese spy balloon. And then we got 3 unidentified flying objects, 2 in the U.S., 1 over Canadian airspace, unlike the balloon, which was floating in excess of 60,000 feet in the air. All of the 3 objects were flying at much lower altitudes that could interfere with commercial and other air traffic. Last one was shot down over Lake Huron. So, again, this is the reveal. Now, we got meteors burning up, as you're looking at footage of a meteor that they're telling us was a meteor. that burned up over France, they always do the exact same thing. Oh, what's that? They just explode when they get to a certain part in the atmosphere? Well, explode, or do they just put on the afterburners and say, "Ah, cool, nice view. Oh my gosh, Paris is beautiful." And well, it's time to go. Okay, bye guys. Afterburners on. They're outie. Yeah. What's really going on? And of course, they want to laugh things off.
And one last thing before I turn it over to the Admiral, I just wanted to make sure we address this from the White House. I know there have been questions and concerns about this, but there is no indication of aliens or extraterrestrial activity with these recent takedowns. Again, there is no indication of aliens or terrestrial activity with these recent takedowns.
And you hear them all giggle and laugh. Ha! The concept of aliens. How silly. How stupid. Yeah, we'll see. We are all going to see. There they are. They are here. Itty bitty ba. Oh, take me to your leader. Those are those ones from that movie Mars Attacks. That was kind of hilarious, actually. So, yeah, NORAD commander can't rule out aliens. Can't rule out aliens. Okay, but no, what's her name over there? Yeah, the girl that briefs the Pentagon. She just said no evidence that it's aliens, but we can't rule them out.
Indeed.
And of course, we have balloon wars. And China said that, the U.S. has at least 10 times sent high altitude balloons since early 2022 over China. He said, she said. Now, the object shot down over Lake Huron was octagonal. Octagonal. That is curious, is it not? Yeah, the DOD says it was octagonal, and it was only at 20,000 feet. And you could see the location. This is interesting, is it not? Fun times we live in.
Tons of fun.
So we did have asteroid 2023 CX-1 impact Earth. It was predicted. It was only the 7th time they said one was going to impact, and it did. So was it just an asteroid that they say is between 2.5 and 6 feet in diameter, and no big deal? As you see, an alleged meteor lights up the sky over France, spotted from Paris. Yeah, is it? What do you guys sense? I always ask Cindy, what do you sense? What'd you get? There's tons of videos on this. Tons and tons of videos on this. So was it just a falling rock? No biggie. Or is there something else going on? Tons of videos on this. And actually, there's been tons of meteors. There's one that came down over Saudi Arabia, too. They always seem to do the same thing, don't they? This is also France. What's your take? What do you guys think? There's one in Florida. Now this one is blocked, but I'll give you guys the link. And again, it's exactly the same thing we've been seeing. Exactly the same. They all look alike, actually, besides this one, which just seems to disappear into the city. Interesting, isn't that? Wait, oh my God, it's going to be a sci-fi horror movie. Where's the explosion? There's no explosion. What happened to it? Where'd it go? This is in Arkansas, and if you look like over there, and you can see it's up there and it lights up the sky. That's in Arkansas, not too far away. Look at that. But we've had wild sights throughout our history that's been documented. November 12th, 1833, there was a meteor shower so intense that it was possible to see up to 100,000 meteors crossing the sky every hour. And so this woodcut is depicting that. Now these look like they're falling straight down. They don't look like they're going horizontally. They look like they're coming straight down into atmosphere. Now this one, the Great Meteor Procession of 1913, oh, that's interesting. These meteors came in formation. Isn't that nice of them? Thank you guys for clustering yourselves together in these nicely arranged, perfectly spaced little grouplings.
Well, obviously they communicate with one another somehow.
They're just dumb rocks, right? Just dumb rocks. It's the question. Was the Great Meteor Procession of 1913 more than just, what meets the eye? If you were in Toronto on that night, February 9th, 1913. Firstly, congratulations on your extraordinary longevity. Yes, exactly. But more importantly, you might have witnessed the celestial spectacle of a lifetime. Shortly after 9 p.m., turn of the century, Torontonians might have looked up and popped a monocle or a corset, stay at the sight of a host of bright comet-like objects traveling east in formation. And this is a painting of this, Gustav Hahn painting. They were in formation. So I guess it was maybe 3 big rocks, or maybe that big rock just split into 3 parts. Formation? It really reminds me of things I've seen before. Yeah. If you ever watched any of the air shows, what was the name of it? The Blue something or others used to do the air shows all the time. Look at this. Formation. Formations. Aha, the wars of the gods, the Vimanas. Formations. Yes. The battles of the gods, which we have evidence too. I mean, they've found bodies in areas that have radioactivity where people have been, unfortunately, exposed to something that killed them on the spot immediately. It's all there in our history. And we have such detail on the Vimanas, all different types of Vimanas. Some that make a lot of noise, actually emit steam and sparks. Some quiet as can be. Some that are described literally as plasma, where others are very, very mechanical. Again, I'm just finishing a book all about Vimanas, and it's overwhelming, the detail on all the different types attributed to different beings. Gurkha, flying in a swift and powerful Vimana, hurled against the 3 cities of the Rishis and the Andhakas, a single projectile charged with all the power of the universe. Incandescent column of smoke and fire, as brilliant as 10,000 suns, rose in all its splendor. That's from the Mahabharata. So these are stories given to us that are thought to be about 5,000 years old. 5,000 years old? And we look at the depictions, it sounds a lot like Star Wars, does it not? And it's not just out of India. It's not just from the Vedic point of view. We see the depiction of the crucifixion, and quite clearly beings manning these ships that look very similar. Very, very similar. Very similar. And then we have Garuda. This is a depiction of Vishnu on Garuda. Now, Garuda is an eagle or a bird type of being, an intelligent bird type of being. We were just talking about the blue avians. Now, I asked them directly when Cindy was channeling them, is this what we have taken from the legends of Garuda, which is a benevolent being that has helped out humanity in the past and helped out the Devas. And they basically shared not exactly, because all your stories are so distorted by the controllers. Even the ones, any tradition you go to, things have been distorted and twisted, and they have removed, the real story from everything that we have. So we can't get the real, complete story from any writings because they've been in control for thousands of years. And they've done just what we see them doing now all the time. They control the narrative. So while there is little tidbits out there that we can glean some knowledge from, it's more of something to trigger us into remembering. Search through your DNA, search through your ancestors' memories.
Right. So when we're looking at these things, when we're looking at the pictures, reading the stories, and if your ear perks or if your spidey senses pick up or if something catches your eye, understand that's your DNA tickling your senses saying, okay, we have been here before and it's really fun to explore. And when we are going through an awakening, that can happen and so many different directions. It can happen in 100 different directions. And boy, it can be overwhelming. But, the only thing you can really do is just follow it. Enjoy the part that's coming up right now. Stay in the moment.
Again, these texts on the Vimanas are just, they're mind-blowing with the detail. Even talking about the propulsion systems and the hull and the structures of these ships. That people quite clearly saw on a regular basis. And we even see that they made what, scientists will tell you, well, those are just children's toys. They're just depicting something that they saw, and the kids are playing with it. Very much, I remember having, toy jets when I was a little kid and playing with them going, vroom, all that. Yeah, sure. We see them in the skies. They saw these in the skies. They made children's toys. Remember, too, that like the Nazca lines, just so you guys know, they just, in a few years ago discovered 140 more. These lines were made in such a way that if you're walking on the ground, you have no clue what this is. They're made to communicate with beings that are in the sky. These things are enormous. Enormous. And there's many of them. Look, waving high. Wave high to the nice ETs. Come on, son. Wave high. Wave high. Hi. Hi, guys. Hi. Hi, Blue Avians. Hi, Galactic Federation. Don't wave high. Hide. This is the bad guys coming now. That's an Asura ship. Yeah, absolutely. Why would they make these things? Well, it was an attempt to communicate with beings that they were seeing up in the sky. Again, if we look at our myths and legends in a new light, we can see that there have been periods of intense wars between beings of much higher technology than humans on Earth. When we look to the Norse mythology, the Aesir and the Vanir, these are two separate sets of beings that are in direct conflict. Two races of gods in Norse mythology. Now, again, we should eliminate the God word and just simply say two races of advanced extraterrestrial beings in Norse mythology. The Aesir are more warlike gods, and if you listen to Gaia TV, they have a show with a young gentleman that remembers his past lives, and so he's basically said the Aesir are the Anunnaki, is what his opinion is. It's now Odin, Frigg, Thor, Balder, and Tyr. The Vanir are the more peaceful fertility gods. Njord, sea god and his children, Freyr and Freya. These clans battle, exchange hostages, etc., etc. The same battles we see in culture after culture. It's interesting, too. In the battle, the Aesir, or if you want to view them as the Anunnaki, fought by weapons and by force, used war rules in plain combat. The Vanir used magic for battle. As there's been this attempt to basically say the Aesir are more like humans, human tendencies, and view the Vanir more as nature gods, but really these are distinctive groups of beings, and each one of them is distinctive in and of itself.
Isn't it curious? There's always, two sides to everything, and it's almost like they take all of these stories and they boil them down to a very local manner where everything can be consumed in just one specific book, and that seems to be the pattern. And then they teach us, don't look over here, don't look over there, just stay here, stay in control.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what we've gotten from the guides before, when Cindy goes and looks at Thor, Thor is on the higher part of fourth density, so he's not really where we find those that we would call the Anunnaki, like Enlil, Enki, Marduk, and like. He is vibrating at a higher frequency, and so you could view him as being a little bit more noble. And Cindy's nodding her head.
Oh yeah, there's a big difference between like you have those that are noble and do good deeds for others who are not as privileged. So there is a big difference between noble warriors and then those who just want to fight.
Yeah, absolutely. See, part of the whole thing with the battle that's going on is those that have given in to the AI part of it, that dark AI part of it, and those that haven't. Now, again, when we look to those we might think of and group together in that big term, Anunnaki, those that come from the heavens, there's many different types of beings in that group. When we're talking about Enlil and Enki and Marduk and the such, these are humanoid reptilian beings,
And they're not nice, I mean, there's a lot of information out there. We have yet to really sit down and sift through it and pick it out. But the point is the recognition that there are so many other beings out there, that we've lived and done this cycle again and again and again and again and again. And we're not just here alone.
So you see the Vanir, male gods there. And yeah, these are individuals. They are individuals, and sometimes the individuals can be exemplified as a force of nature, such as the god of the wind and the like. And you'll have Aeolus, the Greek god of the wind, and here you have Njordr, which is again the Vanir's aspect of the god of the wind. But again, there are historical persons that these beings are based on. And we encountered these beings at different times. So you had the Vanir here, and that was in a descending age, and then the Aesir come into the territory, and then there's war. So being that it's in a descending age, it's as we're going on down the line. And these are some of the goddesses that are Vanir goddesses, and their depictions. Again, it's all distorted. We don't have it quite clear because the controllers don't want you to be clear about this. Devas versus Asuras, the Aesir versus the Vanir, the eternal battle between the gods and the demigods. Yeah, and thunderwizard.com is the place to check out if you want to look more into that. It's all about the Yugas. So when we're in the golden age, then we are directly communing with beings of a very, very high vibrational frequency, very high. These beings truly do tutor us, like they are gurus, and they give us the reality of how the universe works. They teach us things like, Source, the real God, is within you. They teach us practices like meditation and yoga and things like Qigong, how to cultivate the life force, how to stay as highly frequency and vibrational as we possibly could. When you get to the Treta and the Silver Age, there's a beginning of a deterioration that sets in, and the stage is set for conflict. There really isn't the conflict in the Golden Age. It's more in the Silver that there is the beginnings of that. And then when we get to the Bronze Age, that's the war time of the gods. That's when we have all these things happening around us, right over our heads, right around us. So the age we're going into is an interesting one because, again, we're heading from a physical 3D perspective into a little bit higher frequency, yet it's the tougher part of the higher frequency that we're heading into and that we're actually into right now. And it's just going to keep going up. Now, the thing is, we have opportunity to jump up into the fifth density where basically we could experience a golden age that opportunity was out there if there was no interference from the controllers. People upon exiting the body in the normal course of events would be able to reincarnate in a much higher density. Now, if you are doing what they recommend, that's going to make that much more difficult. Not totally impossible, but much more difficult. And that's their whole point. They want to keep you down where they could utilize you as an energy source. So again, we don't want to do that by becoming basically the same frequency that they are. So this is why they want to incite anger, hatred, all those things. Now, when you are in the Bronze Age, you do encounter beings that are a little bit more likely to fight than, say, in the Golden Age. And this is something that I wanted to touch on because there was comments, seemed like most of these comments kept coming up more on like Bitchute and Rumble, about like why wouldn't the Galactic Fed go out and fight for us and just wipe them off? Because they're of such a high frequency and vibration that they totally believe in non-interference. And yet you do have that group like the Blue Avians we were talking about that are a warrior class, and they're sitting down there, and I don't know if we got an exact frequency on them, but they can obviously make themselves or make some of their technology appear physical, although they are up above us and above those beings such like Enlil-Enki and Marduk. They are more apt to actually act because they are not at that same higher frequency. So there are beings that are more likely to say they're gonna stop and get in the way of the bully, and actually bully the bully if it has to be that way. And so it all depends again on the frequency, and I'll let Cindy explain better.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're still going to be called to be our best selves. And when it does come to these beings, they are of a warrior class. Now, they believe in evolution, but they are beings who cannot just stand back and allow other beings to get hurt. They do believe in, I would say, a limited interference. When you're really, really high up there, you're going to look at beings in a way where you feel that every single step they take has to be done by themselves. And yes, that's true. That is a bigger expansion of being. That's how we expand the most, by doing it all ourselves. This warrior class, the Blue Avians, now they do believe in that, absolutely, but they want to help. They're not a type of being who can just sit back and watch everything happen and let everything crumble. They're not going to do that, and this is why they've injected themselves. That's just not in their makeup. It doesn't make them bad. It just makes them different, just like we're all different. And what they've called us to do is to be our best self, because so many people out there have said, hey, we need help. Why doesn't somebody just step in? Well, somebody has. So now we have to do our part. Our part in all of this is to be your best self. Be better today than you were yesterday. Do the next right thing. Just continue to pull your own self up. Do those things that it takes to be a better person and be good to each other. And that's really all that's asked of us.
Yeah, and I just want to get out there because I saw one comment where somebody said, wow, I never would have thought you guys would talk about the Blue Avians. Well, we didn't either. Yeah, they just contacted us. And the Galactic Federation, the Pleiadian High Council, have expanded Cindy's reach because Cindy was at a point where beings at that density wouldn't be able to work through her because she was programmed, basically, so to speak, to just basically work with fifth density and higher. But now, she is able to communicate with beings of a closer density. And there have been times when some have come through, as we did report to you guys, the group that we would call the Anunnaki themselves, while Cindy would never allow them to channel through her fully unconscious channeling, no. she did receive a message from them that they wanted to give to us, just to say that they are coming back. And, their kind of disregard for whatever humanity feels, thinks, or wants. They have no regard for it at all. They just view humanity as their possession. So they were able to get a message through. So with Cindy now, she can channel a wider range. Her tuning has been expanded. And as far as the Blue Avians go, that is a real group. It is a real set of beings out there. Yet we are not confirming or saying in any way that everything you've gotten from, say, David Wilcock or Corey Good is right or wrong. Again, everybody has to decide on your own what feels right or wrong to you. Yeah, at the same time, this group is real. This group is legitimate, and they are out there, and they are trying to help humanity in a non-aggressive way.
Mm-hmm. It definitely took me back a little bit too when I heard it was them trying to come through. I mean, I wasn't sure what to think. It was a huge surprise, but they are out there. They have done their thing. Now what I suspect is happening across the planet is there's a lot of muddying of waters. So we can expect that. We can expect more information to come in that's just going to confuse through the news, because that's what they always do. But the initial things that were starting to come in was of their influence. So now we just have to do our part. And I am very excited. Channeling energy, it does get expanded. As you channel more, the more expansion you will have. So I'm going to be having more beings step in, different conversations. And I think it's almost in preparation for us and our understanding to know that we are not alone. We are not alone. And it's just a natural progression of life. It's like now we're starting to hear about all these different beings, and it's almost like a nice little padding for consciousness, because if you see something just out of the blue that you've never seen before, your human nature is really going to just freak out. And so many people are not able to see because their higher self knows that if they did see, they would not handle it well. So higher self knows, higher self, just trust that higher self. If you've been doing all the work and you're still not seeing things, just trust. Higher self knows when it's time. And also sometimes we just have to be okay with whatever we are not seeing or whatever we are not feeling. Sometimes you just have to give in to that and accept it and say, oh, okay, but now we're in a position where more beings will be coming through. So it'll be quite interesting.
Absolutely. The one thing that would describe the times that we're heading into is extremely interesting. Times of magic and wonder and of interaction with all sorts of extraterrestrial, interdimensional, inner earth beings. So this is a very different time that we're heading into. So we want to thank you guys as always for your support. Much love. God bless and namaste.
Namaste.